Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the IFGL Refractories Limited Q2 FY22 earnings conference call, hosted by Monarch Networth Capital Limited. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company, which are based on the beliefs, opinions, and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Sahil Sanghvi from Monarch Networth Capital Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Faizan. Good evening to all. On behalf of Monarch Networth Capital, we welcome you all for the IFGL Refractories Q2 FY 2022 earnings call. We are delighted to host the management from IFGL today, and we have Mr. Kamal Sarda, CEO of IFGL Refractories. So without taking any much time, I will hand over the call to Mr. Kamal Sarda for the opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Sahil. So I start. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope all of you are safe and well. Thank you for joining us on IFGL Refractories Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. Along with me on the call, we have SGA, our investor relation advisors, apart from Monarch, who are conducting this. We have uploaded the result presentation on the stock exchange, and I hope everybody had a chance to go through the same. Before starting with the business highlights, I would like to mention that we have elevated Mr. Amit Agarwal as CFO of the company. He has been with us for 10 years. This has been approved by the Board of Directors on 13th November 2021. Now, on the business highlights, I'm pleased to share that we have posted the highest ever quarterly total income during Q2 FY22 on a standalone as well as on a consolidated basis, recording 202 crores and 314 crores respectively. Along with the increase in revenue, the operational expenses have also increased due to higher raw material costs, higher freight costs, and also some travel expenses which were not present in the last financial year. Despite all this, we continue to be quite healthy, both in profitability as well as cash. Steel demand continues to be strong on the back of the strong economic recovery, increased investment in capex, revival in real estate, and also some revival in auto sector. All these factors have led to strong growth in the demand for the steel, resulting in increased order inflow for our refractories. Domestic steel companies operated at optimum capacity during this quarter. During Q2, we also commenced the first phase of Visakhapatnam plant, built at a total cost of about 30 crores. Commercial production of monolithics has commenced from 1st of September 2021. The installed capacity of this phase 1 plant is 48,000 metric ton per annum. Our efforts would be to ramp up the capacity utilization of the plant in a quick and time-bound manner, backed by the strong demand from the steel producers. Phase 2 is on full swing and expected to be completed by Q2 of FY23. Going ahead, we expect the demand to be steady with unlocking of the economy. With the enhanced capacity, we expect to improve the scale of business, which will lead to further benefits and operating leverages playing out in the long term of the company. Let me now come to the financial highlights of Q2 FY22. Starting with the standalone, total income increased by 20% year-on-year to 2,002 crores. EBITDA was marginally down to 34 crores, down by 6% year-on-year. EBITDA margin stood at 17.1% compared to 21.7% in the corresponding quarter. PAT was down by 13% to 16.6 crore. On the consolidated financial highlights, So this total income in total consolidated figures includes our international subsidiaries in US and Europe. Total consolidated income increased by 26% to 314 crores. Consolidated EBITDA was marginally down by 1% to 440.7 crore. Consolidated EBITDA margin stood at 13% compared to 16.6% in the corresponding quarter. PAT was down by 3% to 20 crores. On brief highlights on the international business, EI Ceramic, our US subsidiary, total income stood at 4.4 million, up 13% year on year. EBITDA was $0.23 million, down 51% year on year. PAT stood at $0.12 million, down 63% year on year. Monocon, our UK subsidiary, total income stood at GBP 7.11 million, up 5%. EBITDA stood at 0.33 million, up 50%. PAT was 0.22 million, up 82%. Hoffmann Ceramics, which is our German subsidiary, total income was 1.97 million euro, up 54% year on year. EBITDA stood at 0.15 million euro compared to a loss of 0.07 million last year. PAT was 0.16 million compared to a PAT loss of 0.17 million last year. With respect to liquidity, we remain net debt free with a strong balance sheet and strong cash flow from operations. Cash and cash equivalents stood at 273 crores as on September 2021. So these are brief highlights of the financials. I now leave the floor for any questions if you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Rohit Balakrishnan from iThought PMS. Please go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. So, sir, as you mentioned in your opening remarks that this was the highest ever sales for us with the standalone on the consolidated level. So just want to understand what is the capacity utilization that you're working on right now, and do you see this kind of top line sustainable over the next few quarters? And if you can also share this increase in top line, what was the volume versus price increase that you would have seen? That was my first question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the top line growth is a result of 2-3 factors. There has been a volume growth, definitely, because we make multiple product ranges, so it is difficult for me to share those details. But yes, there has been reasonable volume growth. Plus, we had in the last quarter we had some price increases also from some of our customers. I will not say many. Some customers have given some price increases also. So both the points put together, I think the growth has been there. As I mentioned, demand has been quite strong in quarter 2, and I see quarter 3 also the demand is quite strong. I will not comment on what kind of results will be there in quarter 3, quarter 4, but I see a good demand for our products in the coming quarters.
What is the utilization, sir, right now of your existing capacity?
Utilization will be very, very similar because we have been adding capacities also. Like we have added the Vizag capacity, although it has just started. But we have done various additions, debottlenecking in Rourkela also. We should be at around 70% levels on an average, all the items put together.
Got it. And sir, this capex that you are currently doing, so how much capacity will that add in terms of tonnage or in terms of incremental sales, assuming you operate at your peak capacity?
I think I mentioned in that the Vizag capacity is being built for 48,000 metric ton of monolithics per annum.
Right.
That should result in a turnover of somewhere around 120 crores, depending upon the product mixes which we sell.
Got it. Understood. Fine. And sir, you mentioned that this quarter, there was some pricing pressure. So you also alluded to this point that you had some price increases from your customers. So if I were to look at, not just this quarter or the previous quarters in the last financial year, over a longer period of time, is there a way to say that this is a particular EBITDA per ton that you earn, or this is the kind of EBITDA margin consequently that you look at in a normalized period? I understand last year was obviously there were a lot of disruptions, so some costs may not be there, and this year again some costs have flared up because of raw materials, etc. But over a longer period of time, if one were to analyze your business, what kind of margins one should look at on a sustainable basis?
Difficult question. But I've always maintained that whatever we have done in the last 5 years, the margins EBITDA margins which we have had, I would say somewhere around 15 to 17% is what we can look at. So maybe barring some cost pressures here and there, I would say somewhere around 14-15% should be a margin we should look at.
Got it. Fine. I think these were my questions. If I have any more, I'll join back in with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Hitesh from Aksa Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Sir, how is the raw material scenario now, both with regard to the supply from China and also with regard to the pricing on a sequential basis?
Yeah, so supply, I would say most of the raw material are available at a price. Okay. There are disruptions. The major disruption is due to the logistics, the container availability, ship availability. So that's something which we have been facing challenges for the last few months. What I understand, the container availability issues are slightly easing up. But China, as you all must be aware, they had cut down on power consumptions in the last one month or so. So that is causing a bit of a disruption in our raw material availability, a particular area of China. But I'm told that the part work restrictions is being eased out. So we'll have to watch in the next 1 month or so. But the raw materials are available at a price. The prices have gone up. The logistics costs have gone up. That's what I have mentioned in my speech also. So that cost is still high.
Mm-hmm. Would it be possible to quantify what is the RM inflation on a sequential basis now?
No, I don't think I have calculated that way.
Okay, but is it anything to be really worried about it with regard to the spike? Because I believe on a YOY basis, a lot of the raw materials have moved up by 20-30% also over that of last year. Do we still see that trend continuing with regard to these prices increasing? Because
as we speak, the raw material increasing trend has more or less, I think, have plateaued. There have been no significant increase in the last 15 days or so.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So we hope that we have reached the peak. But I think next couple of months would be crucial because China goes into a severe winter.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to watch the winter as well as till the Chinese New Year.
Sure.
The next couple of months will maybe either remain the same, but availability challenges would be there. But I think thereafter it should come down.
Got it. Sir, and your response to the previous participant with regard to the long-term sustainable EBITDA margin, if I look at your last 5 years number, it's only the last year where you had, about 15 odd % margins. Prior to that, your gross margins were also slightly on the lower side, and your EBITDA margins were also about 12-13%. You still confident to, maintain this level of margins? And is it because of the new CapEx that has come on stream where you feel the margin profile is a lot better? Your thoughts on that?
I honestly didn't get your question.
No. If I look at a 5-year number, I think the margins are still around 12-13% only. But what you had guided, was about 14-15% as a margin on a sustainable basis.
Because the volumes have grown in our case. So that's the reason why I'm talking of. I'm not saying this is that's the reason why I don't want to give any kind of a margin thing. But if you want to look at it, I think we should look at about somewhere around 14% on a console levels. Yeah, that is something which we are looking at because both the costs have increased, but we are also looking at the selling price increases, which we are getting indications from the customers also. So I think it should be okay.
Okay, sure. And so this goodwill which is there with us, how much is left more to be written off?
I think it should be about 4.5 years left, 4.5 write-off.
Okay, but the tax impact of this is anyways taken on our books, right? Last year.
Yeah. Tax impact is from 1st of April 2021. It is finished.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, 1st April 2021 it is finished. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Yeah. That's it from me.
Thank you. Okay. The next question is from the line of Pratim Roy from Batlivala and Karani Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I have 2 questions. First of all, if you can throw some light on the demand scenario, you mentioned that 3Q and 4Q will be robust, like 2Q. So which sector you are expecting? I mean, steel is there, because that is the major consumer of the refractories. But if you can throw some light in a demand perspective, where you are getting good demand perspective, whether it's a secondary mill or it's a primary steel mills, they are procuring more. If you can throw some light on that, then I'll put my second question.
So demand is there all across. I would say the majorly demand would be there in the major steel mills. Okay, they are producing full capacities. Okay, so the demand is there. I think our presence is majorly to the large steel mills and the medium sector. But on the mini mill sector, our business is increasing. So they are also having a reasonably good demand. So it's all across, I would say. I'll not put any kind of a sector-specific demand increase.
Okay, and one more thing, sir, raw material, you mentioned that the logistic cost and raw material price also shoot up. So already this is priced in our current realization, or are you going to take any kind of price hike in the near term?
These are all continuous issues. This cannot happen in 1 quarter or 1 month. As I said, there will be some price increases in the current quarter, next quarter. These are all continuous processes. It cannot happen in 1 day.
Okay, means already that means margin pressure will be there if the raw material prices will go up. Means we are not going for any price hike as of now, right?
I will not like to put any kind of detailing on this. So let's see how the price. As I said, the customers are willing to give. They have given price increases. Customers are willing to give prices now because they want more material on time rather than handling on prices. So we are hoping that any increases will get offsetted by any kind of increases in the cost.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Amit Shah from Ace Securities. Please go ahead.
Sir, I have a couple of questions, sir. So can you explain what are the factors leading to drop in EBITDA margin on a YOY basis?
I mentioned it by speech. So there have been some input cost increases, like raw material prices had increased. The one of the large impact was on the ocean freight. Both inbound ocean as freight as well as outbound. I mentioned to you in the speech that, the freight from China to India has increased almost like 10 times. In fact, 10 times is a factor which you can safely keep for all the other sectors, whether it is inbound or outbound. So these are the two major impacts of the price cost increases compared to Y and Y.
Okay. Sir, and what is your outlook on steel demand as well as demand for refractories for next year?
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Amit Shah. There is a disturbance coming from your line, sir. Request you to please self-mute your line.
Yeah. So should I repeat my question?
Yes, please.
Okay. Sir, what is the outlook on steel demand as well as demand for refractories in the next year?
I think you all must have a better information on this, but steel demand, as we understand, and also the stalwarts of the steel industry say the demand will be very, very good in the next year.
Okay. Okay, sir. And sir, lastly, can you give us any outlook on each of our international prospects?
Can you ask specific questions? I had already mentioned in my speech what is there, or maybe you can go through the speech. I had mentioned what is there. That way it's a very generic, or you can call me separately. But this will be a longest question.
Okay. Thank you. No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Virat Shah from NM Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Sir, I have a couple of questions. Sir, what do you plan to do with the excess cash on the books?
It's kept. This cash is there for the kind of expansions which we do. All the expansions which we have done, spent so far is from the cash generated from the business. And we are looking for some opportunities for any kind of acquisition. If there is anything, we have the cash just ready.
Okay. Sir, what do you expect the revenue from the potential of Visakhapatnam Phase 1?
I think I answered in my previous one of the previous questions.
Okay. Sir, what do you expect the new plant of Visakhapatnam to optimize the optimal level?
Pardon? Sorry?
When do you expect the new plant of Visakhapatnam be utilized at optimum level?
It will take 2-3 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Kunal Gupta, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, sir. So continuing on this Vizag plant, so you said 2-3 years for optimization. So, sir, any estimation on utilization rates for this year or next year?
No, we have not kept. This year will be only the stage where we will do various approval processes with the customers. So there will be not much. Next year, we have not made a plan, but we should look at about 20-25% levels.
Okay, sure, sir. So, sir, supplies from here will be for domestic customers or will we export also?
Mainly domestic customers, but we already done one export from there, so maybe some exports also may happen from there.
Okay, sure, sir.
Majorly for the domestic market.
All right, sir. And sir, this just wanted to ask you, what's the status on this one-time, write-off of goodwill that we had decided? So, are there any pending approvals on this process?
Yeah, so we are still working on the scheme. There are some discussions continuing with the legal team and the auditors. So it may take some more time. I will not be able to give you exact deadline when this will be finalized.
Okay, Sure, sir. Sure. I'll fall back in the queue. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Veeraj Mithani from Jupiter Financial. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is about the structure of industry. Can you give me some idea about the competitors in India as well as the world? Like how are we placed compared to others?
In India, and I think there are the competition is there from Vesuvius, RHI. You have Tata Refractories. You have OCL. There are quite a number of competition. The large refractory players. Calderis India is there, though they are not our direct competitors, but they are there in the refractory space. In worldwide also, these names are there. Vesuvius, RHI, Kurosaki.
So I understand Vesuvius being the largest market shareholder in the world, and even India, is it the same thing or we are better than them?
They're larger than us. They're substantially larger than us.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay. So, but do you think with this infrastructure focus, things will get better, the margins will evolve a period of, say, next in the medium term, the 3 to 5 years?
We hope things will improve. I think we only work to improve the margin.
Okay.
But definitely what I can say is the volume growth I can see is good, both in the Indian market as well as the overseas market.
Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you and all the best, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Rohit Balakrishnan from iThought PMS. Please go ahead.
Hello. I think you tried to answer that question. I just wanted to maybe try and ask it in a different way. So we have a goodwill which we write off at about 6-7 crores. Last quarter was much less. This quarter was about 7 crores. I could be wrong in my understanding. If my understanding was correct, that given that you've taken a one-time write-off, we would not have this amortization going forward. So if you can probably help me understand, if I could be wrong in my understanding, as I said, if you can just help me understand what is it that, what was that one-time write-off for, and what was, what is the way forward?
So I think if you go through our the AGM notice and all, this one-time write-off which we have planned is adjusting the share premium account with the balance of goodwill. Okay, so that's how we decided to knock off both share premium and goodwill from the books, which will improve the return on capital employed. That was the objective. So that process is on. We are in the discussion with the legal team and the auditors also. So this may take a few more months before we finally go to NCLT, because it has to go to NCLT for approval. The NCLT is the authority which will approve. So when NCLT approves, we cannot put a time frame, but normally they take about anywhere between 3 to 6 months time. That's the minimum time they take.
Got it. And how far are you from going to NCLT to seek this approval, sir?
Yeah, it will take a few more months. I will not be able to put a time frame, but it may take a few more months. There are some legal documentations which are still pending to be made, and we are in the process of getting some certificates also. So it may take a few more months. I will not be able to really put a time frame there, because I think we have already delayed on that. So putting a time.
But will it be safe to say that probably before end of this financial year?
No, it will not happen.
I'm saying you reaching to the NCLT before this financial year. It will take whatever time.
No. I'll not say that, but as I said, any adjustment will happen only in the next financial year. it may not happen in this financial year.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saket Kapoor from Kapoor and Company. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Dhanyawad, sir, for this opportunity. Namaskar. Sir, as you have been mentioned in the presentation that there will be contribution from the phase 1 expansion from the Visakhapatnam project. So, what should be the likely contribution in terms of the top line and utilization levels for H2?
H2 there will not be much. So it will all get into the next financial year.
Okay. And on a fully utilization level, sir, what should be its contribution, depending on today's pricing?
It should be about somewhere around 100 crores.
So next year, full year 100 crore contribution from the Visakhapatnam.
As I said, you asked me a question about the full utilization.
Yes,
I did not mention next year it will be fully utilized.
Okay, sir. So can you give some color, sir, how the utilization levels will be ramped up?
So it will take 2-3 years before we go to a reasonable utilization level. Because this has to go through a process of, various approvals of each customer.
Right. Okay. And sir, traditionally for our industry, is there any non-linear trend for H1 and H2? Any seasonality factors plays into, or we have consistency over both the halves?
There are no linear things. It's almost like a flattish thing.
Correct, sir. So when we look at our global part of the business when outside India, there the margins are typically very low than what we do for domestically. So what are the key factors that has kept the margins on the lower side, and what are the course corrections since we are in a good steel cycle? What are the corrections that can happen that will add to the margins going forward, if any, for businesses outside India?
See, the margins differ from product to product. Even the products which we sell in India, there are various products where the margins are lower. So this is one of the major reasons. Few products are mature products where the freight sensitivity is very high. So these are some of the major reasons. Mature product and mature market. The market is also not growing. So that's one of the major reasons why the margins are lower in some of the companies which you feel.
Correct. That is the product mix you are saying. That it is the product mix rather. That is the reason why these are low margin products.
Product mix. Mainly the product mix.
So there is we cannot expect any changes because they are aligned in that way, and these are low margins.
So the margins have been there very, very similar in the past also. There's not very, very significantly different.
Sir, I joined late in the call, so what are the key triggers now going forward, say 1 year and 2 years down the line when our expansions are also stabilized? So what can we look forward in terms of business going forward, say 15 months or 12 months down the line, sir?
As I mentioned, the market seems to be very, very buoyant now. The industry which we serve, the steel industry, is having a very good outlook for next few quarters. So we go with that same trend. And we also hope personally that the demand of refractories should be very, very good. I don't see any challenges in the refractory. In fact, on the other hand, it should be very good in the coming quarters.
Okay. So a very small point on the raw material and our utilization levels. On the current market conditions, how our utilization levels have shaped up for the first half, and how should the utilization levels play out for H2? And the impact of increase in the raw material prices, have everything been passed on since we are working on a long-term contract basis? So how has this increase in raw material prices impacted the margins?
The raw material prices have impacted the margin in this quarter too, definitely. There has been some pass on, some are in the process. So it is not that 1-to-1 we can pass it on in the month in which the price increase happens. It's in the ordering cycle, the next price only adjustments happen. So this mismatch of order, the raw material price increase and the sales price increase will be there for the next 2-3 quarters. So I hope in next 2-3 quarters we'll be able to understand how much the market is willing to give. As I mentioned in my one of my previous questions, that customers are willing to, they're accepting that there has been a steep price increase, and they are willing to acknowledge that and give us some price increases. But it will take time. May not happen today, may not happen tomorrow, but it will happen.
So these quarter margins are on a sustainable basis. The impact of the higher raw material has flowed completely, or we are due to the inventory they will be.
You have not understood my answer. I said it will happen in next 2-3 quarters, sir. It is not that it was the month in which the raw material cost increases, I increase my sales price. It is not possible for refractory industry.
Right. So what I was asking is the higher raw material impact is the visibility.
That is also continuing. The prices are going up. Maybe the raw material price, maybe in the current quarter, maybe in some. So its current quarter is already 1.5 months has passed. In last 1.5 months, in October month, there has been some increases. So it is not that the raw material will remain flat. This will also change slightly. I only mentioned the last 10-15 days the raw material prices have been flattish.
Right. And on the utilization levels, sir,
we are at 70%, somewhere around 70% levels on an average, all products put together.
And this is the traditional way. This is where we are in this. During these strong steel cycles, this is what the level which is optimum for us, or we can scale up higher on what factors can. We have undertaken a lot of capex plans. So they are debottlenecking, increasing the capacities. So that is a continuous process. So if required, we can increase the capacities. No issues at all. No, sir. My question was when we have a nameplate capacity and we are at 70%, so this is the nature of the industry that at peak we can run at 70-75%, or we can reach that 90-95% mark also. And what factors?
No. Nowhere runs at 90-95%. It will operate at.
So this is the peak, and the debottlenecking will
generally hover around that.
Didn't get you last point.
This will be around these levels only, because we are also increasing capacities.
Correct, sir. The base will increase.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for the answer, sir. I'll come in detail. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Hitesh from Aksa Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So this is a follow-up to your response with regard to how you want to use the cash. I believe you also mentioned about acquisitions. There may not be anything on the table now, but even if you want to look at acquisitions, what would be your consideration with regard to the geography that you want to look at? Or
we have not thought. It could be India, it could be overseas also. That we have had in the past. We have acquired in UK, US, Germany also. So that's subject to what is available and whether it fits to our scheme of things.
So because overseas, whatever acquisitions we have done, they have not scaled up much from the point we had acquired, right? So, I mean, just by looking at the numbers, it appears that, your overseas acquisitions haven't helped you much with regard on the numbers at least. So, you're still open to looking at overseas acquisitions, is it?
Yeah. So your observation may not be fully correct that they have not helped. They have repaid their own loans, whatever they had taken for acquiring those companies. We have almost like 140-150 crore cash available in those companies, overseas companies. So so those companies have done pretty well in the last few years since we acquired them. So it may not be a very, very right observation that they have not helped us. They have spent, Hoffman Germany has spent some money. EI Ceramics has spent some money. Monocon UK has spent some money on expanding their capacities or debottlenecking their capacities.
Okay. Sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Sahil Sanghvi for closing comments. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Faizan. Just wanted to thank Kamal sir for patiently answering all the questions. On behalf of Monarch Network, we would also like to thank all the participants. Kamal sir, would you like to give any closing comments?
No, I think it was a good question answer sessions. I hope I have been able to answer most of your queries. And if there is anything you can contact SGA who can either answer by themselves or maybe touch base with me to answer those queries. And I wish all of you to remain safe and healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Monarch Networth Capital Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.